A very warm good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are honored to have with us two eminent personalities who have made incredible contributions to the world of gaming, creativity, and innovation. They are not just experts, but true pioneers driving change and inspiring growth in this dynamic industry. First, let me introduce Sri Ramesh Naidu, advisor at Algovation and creative director at Ayelet Studio. With over 13 years of experience as a seasoned digital marketing professional, Sri Ramesh Naidu has carved a niche for himself in mobile app user acquisition and growth. During his tenure as Chief Marketing Officer at one of India's leading game developers, he played a pivotal role in the massive success of Ludo King, a game that has become a household name with an astonishing 1.5 billion downloads. We welcome you, sir. Joining Sri Ramesh Naidu today is none other than Sri Abraham K., the studio head and creative director of Ayelet Studio. Sri Abraham K. is a visionary transforming the gaming industry by seamlessly blending cutting-edge technology with culturally rich storytelling. His expertise in game development and passion for creating immersive narratives are evident in his leadership of projects like Unsung Empires, the Cholas Second, which brings India's glorious heritage to life for global audiences. His achievements include developing a shopping solution showcased at NRF 2016 and being a finalist in the Wacom Global Hackathon at CES 2017. We welcome you, sir. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome session with these two young speakers.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's little more warming because you said young entrepreneurs, but like young pioneers or whatever. But I'm not young. Abraham is for sure very young. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Uh, so, just before start, um, honestly, it's a superb experience to be here, to be part of this summit for future, and I got a couple of glimpses of your work and gone through a lot of been hearing a lot of stories what your previous element students have been doing and how you guys are doing. So it's very inspiring to be honest. With that, so today's topic is the startup initiatives for gaming company, and we'll talk about specific in India. So as a marketer, I have this habit of knowing my audience. So the core principle of marketing is to know your target audience. So before we start this session, I would like to know how many of you played a mobile game in last 24 hours? Please raise your hand. Okay, keep it raised. How many of you have mobile games in your phone? Please raise your hands. Okay, so quite 80% of you. So you are our primary target audience for this session. Now, please put your hands up. Now, how many of you aspire to build games or already building games? Please raise your hand. Awesome. So you are our core target audience for this session. So it's very important to know who your audience are, and it's a first principle which we follow in marketing. So with this, so there's one tagline which we used it here, which is called Gaming Industry, the Rising Sun, a blog which I wanted to write on, and that's where the title I got into my mind. And believe me, it justifies that. So gaming is booming in India, and it's truly the rising sun right now. It just needs a few clouds to go away. That's it. So with that, we'll move to our intros. So myself, Ramesh Naidu, as you've seen. Uh, this week, I'm going to complete close to 11 years in gaming, purely in gaming. I was fortunate enough to start my career with one of the big studios in India, based out of Hyderabad. It's called Esnom Studios, where I started my career in early 2014. During this time, the kind of games which I worked at that time marketed were purely IP games. You might heard Madagascar name. We had an IP from DreamWorks. So that's the first game which I got my hands on. And then I worked on a game called Star Trek, which is based on Star Trek IP from CBS. And then there is another game called Adventure Times, which is based on a cartoon series from Cartoon Network. And then we worked on a game called Kingsman, which is based on Kingsman movie. So my career started with them. I traveled close to 3.5 years with them. And then I worked for one of the, actually it's the first real money gaming company in India, which is called Head Digital Works. Earlier it was Head Infotech, who made Ace-2-3 or A-2-3, which is a rummy game, very popular, quite 18 years kind of old game. They were the first to start real money in India. So I worked with them for a year as a growth hacker, and then I had my and then again came back to free-to-play, where I worked with a Chinese company called Yuzu Games, where we made a lot of, we started off with card games, then we went on to make hyper-casual games. Sorry, I would say casual games. That's where I was introduced to Ludo and Carom. We made a game called Ludo All-Star, which went on to become top 50 free games in India. And then we were doing so well in Middle East as well. Unfortunately, due to the Indo-China relations, which got disturbed during 2020, the whole studio got banned and their games were banned. And from there, I moved to MPL, which we would have Mobile Premier League. We would have heard about it. So there I started taking care of leading the casual games segment in terms of marketing, and then I was leading the esports marketing for them. MPL was trying their hands very hard at that time in esports, so had a quiet ride with them, and then I joined. My next company was Jet Senses, which is quite a big studio in India. It's a quite big company which owns companies like Nautilus, which has real cricket. I'm not sure how many of you have played real cricket, which is quite a big game in cricket space. And then they have Sachin Saga, which is Sachin's brand IP game, where he himself is the brand ambassador, and they have other list of games. So I had the marketing there. And then my last stint was with, in between I tried for another RMG company, which is called Ludo Empire. I'm not sure how many. It's a real money Ludo game. They are the first company to try their hands in real money, and followed by my last company, which was Gameshin Technologies, which you would have known Ludo King. So how many of you played Ludo King by any chance? I get you would have heard the name as well, right? So, so it's the biggest game from India, I would say. One of the most profitable studios in India, I would say, because of the massive popularity it has. So I was fortunate enough to market it in the West, because India, we've been #1, and you would always see it. And whenever you open Google, you would find it on #1 place, and Play Store or App Store. So this is how my journey been in gaming. Right now, I'm working as a consultant, trying my hands on trying to be helping out with indie game developers, and at the same time working with well-established gaming studios, helping them with some marketing projects and all. So this is so far about me. Had a quite good ride, and fortunate enough to experience it. So then I would hand over to Abraham. It's a pleasure meeting Abraham here through this event. I would talk about it later, but over to you, Abraham.
That's a lot of intro. So maybe I'll just do a quick introduction as well. So I'm Ibrahim, and I run an indie game studio from Chennai. And pretty much we are working on our first title. The first title which we launched was something called Unsung Empires, the Cholas. It's an action adventure title set in 11th century Tanjore. So and one thing which we wanted to do is we always play games like God of War, like Assassin's Creed, or like you play Ghost of Tsushima. It's entirely set on West, or it's entirely on East or North. I think from India, we have a lot of stories to tell, right? Like pretty much I always say this to my friends that each state is actually a different country here. Like you have like a different food, you have like a different stories, you have like a lot of cultural elements, cultural festival that happens. That's where like we were like, okay, now we need to build something which we are familiar with. That's the reason we started with Cholas, and we are working on it. And in this session, we want to talk about like primarily like how big the gaming market is in India, and is this the right time to start something? Say like pretty much there are people who are from game development department or who are interested in game development who wants to start something. I think this session is going to talk entirely about that. And finally, like how we are going to get into the market, because without marketing, you just develop a game. The sales is the final number which any game studio wants. So that's the thing, and we want to get started. Go to next slide. Oh. Oh, it's here. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And some of the key objectives, like pretty much, and we know that India is a mobile-first market. It's not just that. Now we are becoming a global gaming development hub as well. Not just like the audience who are playing the game, but we are also getting like some of the greatest, or like some of the studios who are working on some of the IPs as well. Like it's something. Say if you go back like 3 years or 4 years behind, we never even had the chance of working on something like that. And that's the market is changing. And one another thing is like there are a lot of things, there are a lot of initiative which government does to promote the cultural side of things, the incubators, the accelerators that exist, which we want to talk about that as well. Because whenever you are starting a game studio, there's going to be a lot of things. Because whenever we say you're going to do or create a SaaS startup or something, like the framework, which is already being said. But whenever we say it's on the game development side, it's going to be an entirely a different one. Like you need to set up the pipeline. There are a lot of different roles that comes into play, and each contributes to a particular set of feature in the game. So we want to talk more about that. And finally, like one of the major thing India is lacking is like creating its own IP, because every single country or like the popular games which you see, they have their own IP, right? Like pretty much like from Kratos to like The Last of Us, they have their own IP titles. Being in India, like with all the different cultural elements, I think we definitely need more on that. So maybe if someone is here like who wants to start something, definitely go for creating IP as well. So because don't just like stick with, we are going to like work on a very hyper casual game similar to like say that was developed on the West or something. Try to create your own, and with all the different mechanics too. And one thing which we see is the numbers, right? So as I already told, it's going to be a huge market. We see that there are more than 80 or 90% of the people are mobile first, because one thing that changed the market is the internet. Previously, like the data used to be costly. Now we see like there are a lot of people who play PUBG or like Free Fire or with the friends. Like you have that accessible. The devices become that powerful and accessible as well. And one thing which we see is previously, like when I was usually like 10 years back, getting a PlayStation or like Xbox or any console, it's actually a luxury thing. But that thing is now changing, and pretty sure like most of you here, like whenever you joined the college, you would have got a laptop with a GPU, right? Like even you're not gaming or not, you would have definitely got something on 20 series or 30 series or even 40 series. So the entire market seeing the gaming industry is changing as well. And one thing which we see is like this is going to happen for next 5 years as well. Now we are going to have more people who has a powerful laptop or who is more interested in gaming. And one mentality, even this has to change, but people say that gaming is a waste of time as well. That I think that thing is now changing, and people are considering it as a hobby, which is pretty normal in the West. Like people consider gaming as a hobby, and even esports are a profession, right? Like now it's a well-paid profession done doing engineering and all the things. You go, you play Valorant, or you play multiplayer games, you become a celebrity. So there are a lot of opportunities which are opening up, and we need like more of you to explore all the different type of categories as well. And on the startup wise, it's pretty straightforward. Like one thing is, last 10 years has been, not even 10 years, like last 15 years, we have seen a lot of companies that are coming up. And one thing is, India has one of the, on the top 3, India has one of the maturing gaming startup ecosystem. And there are a lot of things, something like the technology parks or the innovation hub, those things accelerate those startups. Like say I'm starting up, and if you are part of STPA, you get like a set of grant from the government, or even government creates policy based upon the number of employments you're going to bring. There are a lot of things that opens up. I think one huge issue is like how we are going to know that. And that's where one of the biggest thing that always works is networking. Like you get to go to events, you get to talk to people, you get to know what is happening inside the government, and you can talk about that. And another thing is, so there are a lot of opportunities. Like one thing about the mobile gaming is it's actually a matured one, which is a proven one. Now people have the framework of how to ship a game, and which is a huge thing. So if you're going to start something on the mobile side of things, you already have a framework of how to develop a game, how you can market it, or how you can ship it. The hard part is going to be what kind of genre you're going to pick, or what kind of the development time or the investment which you're going to do. That is going to be the major factor. On the other side, the PC and console, we don't have much title as of now. So pretty much it's a growing one. It's a ongoing one. And I'm pretty sure like we are going to see a lot of console titles in like coming 2 to 3 years. There are a lot of studios who are working on that. Only one thing which we need to consider is like, what is the benchmark we are going to set? Is it going to be a game just for Indians? Or is it going to be a game we are going to compete with the studios like Insomnia or like any studio on the West? And that is the key moment where like, I know like everyone knows Wukong, right? Like which was developed by the Chinese, and even Stella Blade, which was from Korea. And those kind of, the studios from Asia are changing the entire ecosystem. They're just shaking up. And pretty much on the West, like all the games are pretty much like the sequel, or it's kind of like reached the threshold where they're not just giving any new content or any something innovative. Like the gaming is used to be a field where each games is like a different genre. Now everything has become like a common thing, and no one is breaking the third wall. I think that's what missing in the industry. So pretty much on the ecosystem wise, you can definitely start a gaming company similar to any SaaS or anything. We have the platform, not just on the government side. There are a lot of grants which you can try as well. So one thing which I will talk about is, say, if you're using Unreal Engine, you can go for Epic Mega Grant. And Epic has something called UEFN. And if you're doing a similar version of the game on UEFN, it's similar. It's actually a Fortnite. You can play the game on Fortnite, and you can get a grant for that. And Epic is ready to sponsor on that as well. And similarly, there are other things which you can do. One thing on the Indian gaming part is we see like, so whenever like there are 2 to 3 games that came around, like the gangster, the present day, and people talk about like it's similar to GTA and all. But there are people who are more into history as well, because one thing which we can talk about is we see how the response which we got on releasing the first game, which we got more than 85,000 plus downloads. Some of the interesting factors, there are downloads from the Russia, Brazil, like people are so much interested into it because they have previously seen like Indian movies and all. So we never know where we'll have that interest. One thing which we need to make sure is make sure we develop a game that is a proper fit. Like say, there are 2 ways a game can work out. One, it's going to be the experiences. Say like the set pieces you're going to have in the game, it's going to be a narrative one or the basic genre. And the other thing is going to be the mechanics. So this can start from, say, if you're going to be a hyper-casual game, it's going to be the interaction. If it's going to be a game like action-adventure, it's going to be the mechanics which you have. And for more than 80% of the audience, it's going to be just the mechanics where they'll just want to see like whether I can hit a guy, how interesting it is, what is the reward which I'm getting. I think those are some of the consideration which we need to make sure we do that at the game design process itself. And even with all the market which we do, one thing is, and there are other platforms which we need to explore as well. So we focus on mobile, and definitely mobile comes under like Android or iOS. But there is some market like Switch, which is a huge one in the East Asia. Like pretty much in Japan, if you see, like there'll be a lot of games on Switch. So maybe whenever you're doing or whenever you're starting working on something on the gaming side, just consider like whether you're going to target mobile or whether you're going to do, say, if you're starting with PC or console, maybe plan something for mobile. But the restriction is definitely the optimization part. Like whenever you're doing a high fidelity games for PC and console, you won't get the powerful hardware for the mobile games. So just plan that, and even during the planning stage, identify your market. I think that is going to be the key, because we get to see a lot of numbers, and like there is a huge market there. And some of the different categories which you can do is definitely not just the skill-based gaming. You have like real money gaming. You have I know like India is a country where the real money games are the ones that makes a lot of money. But definitely the skill-based gaming is going to be the key one for defining the market, because whenever we go outside India and talk about gaming or Indian gaming, we don't have like a title defining game about our country as of now. So I think there is a lot of space there because we have a lot of cultural elements. Just make sure we follow that. And similarly, you have AR/VR. AR/VR is one of the huge platform, I would say. It's going to be the future. Still, like we need like a proper portable, a high quality device. I think the Apple came into the business, but it's going to be a huge opportunity. This is not just for the gaming, because pretty much like we worked on something called like on the medical side of things as well. It's like it opens up a lot of different opportunities. Even when we say about gaming initiatives, like say if I want to learn how to do a CPR, like I can just put a VR glass and I can just play the game and I'll just understand how to do it. So just don't restrict yourself into like a single genre, because gamification is more like a huge thing across different industry. Like even Swiggy does the gamification for their delivery apps, and even on the medical side, even on the simulation, like say you are building a warehouse. Now you want to create a 3D simulation of that environment to simulate like what will happen if my warehouse is 100% full. So you can run the simulation in the gaming engine, and you can see the data in real time. And there are other industry like the art quiz. The architect is one of the huge thing, even in fashion industry. Like so, even what we do in our game is like we actually work with fashion tech people who work in Marvelous Designer. They design the entire cloth. It's similar to like how you're doing a real cloth. You just design it in Marvelous and you just import it to the game and simulate it. So pretty much the gaming is one of the most cross-functional one. Say you don't just have to be like a proper game programmer or proper gaming background to build the games. And one thing I always say is like whenever people talk about gaming, it's always about like they're pretty much focused on art or pretty much focused on programming. And one thing which we strive to do is like marketing is one of the huge thing which India lacks as of now. No proper studio has like a dedicated marketing inside their studios. I think one thing which even the studio from the West lacks is building with the community, right? Like you get to listen to your users' feedback, and definitely the community is one of the huge upcoming market where you can focus on not just on building games, but on how you're going to do user acquisition. So you just don't need to stick with like a single department. So gaming is a mixture of multiple vertical. And finally, like esports, pretty much everyone sees or watches like your streamers, right? And esports is one of the platform. Even in college events, I think you guys had some esports events as well. Pretty much everyone loves to play multiplayer games. And esports is one of the billion-dollar business. Even the country like Dubai or in the US invest a lot of the time and resources on that. And even talking about all the different opportunities, one thing which we say is uh, definitely with all the creative side of things, the business is going to be the critical. So whenever you're planning a game, like you just need to think how you're going to ship it, how you're going to market it, what is your marketing plan, how you're going to scale it. Say like it works in India, so how you're going to take it to the other market. Whether you're going to do a localization or whether you're going to do, and there are like compliances as well. Say, for example, you can't like dismember a skeleton in Japan. So you can't show blood in China. So how you're going to market on the compliance side of things as well. So there are a lot of things which you need to figure out, and definitely just make sure you consider that before getting into the development. And one another thing is the pipelines, right? Gaming is one of the hardest thing to do because it's actually a mix of art, programming, and you have like even inside that one pipeline which you can tell us like say we actually building a Tanjavur 11th century Tanjavur. This is one of the extreme cases, but it depends on different games. So now we want to build a temple that is already there. Which is more than like 1,500 years old. We visit the places, we took the pics, we did some 3D scans, but it does not end there, right? Now we want to bring the 1:1 scale into the game. Now you need to do the concepts again. You need to like have a proper asset making process. Say like it comes into as a concept. Now we have like different views. Now we need different artists here. So now we need a modeler, we need a texturing artist, and the other part is, whatever they are making, it has to be optimized as well. You can't just put everything inside the engine and ship the game. So now the next process comes in so how optimized without losing the visual fidelity, how we are going to take it in. And then it goes to the technical artist side where they will be doing the integration. And finally, you get to see the game in the world. But now it comes the challenges what are the different lighting we can use? What are the different gameplay elements that will be happening? Whether you can climb or whether you'll have entire celebration there. There are a lot of things that comes in. Just make sure you plan that beforehand so that it doesn't scope creep it. Because whenever we are building something, out of passion, there is always a part that comes in you want to add this, you want to add that, you want to add this. And definitely what happens is it definitely affects you'll get burnout or the team will get burnout. So just make sure you start small, keep your scope small, but at the same time, just have the fun element in it. And if you're from an art or programming background or you're completely off from both of that, just make sure you have friends. I would say just find the friends in the college. Just make sure you have multiple different knowledge bases as well. So you need people from animations. You need people from the asset building. So just make sure you have a strong ones when you're starting it. And on the other side, if you're doing a mobile game, it's going to be a pretty straightforward. But still, what kind of gameplay it's going to be, whether it's going to be repeatable. Because one of the huge factor in mobile gaming is how often you can make the user come back again and play the game. So that is going to be the important thing when we are figuring out a mobile game, because even a game like Flappy Bird can go viral. But there are certain genres we know that this is going to work out. Just make sure you plan before executing it, because gaming is a lot. There are a lot of things that comes into play. And definitely, finally, just plan the marketing ahead of the time. So how we are going to reach the users, what are the different platforms we'll be doing, and get the game out. I think one of the best feeling is once the game comes out, you get to get your player feedback. That is one of the best thing that will happen, and you'll be able to celebrate it. And on the other side, on the complaint side, there are certain things which you need to consider, because currently on the government side of things, we don't have any differentiation between real money and the skill-based gaming. So whenever they put something on for gaming wise, say you're putting a tax or a rule or some kind of GOs, it always affects the entire set of the ecosystem. So just make sure you understand what the state rule is as well whenever you're doing it, because these complaints may be boring, but so whenever you want to build something out of like for a long-term goal, you need to have like a proper compliance check everywhere, and just make sure you work on it. And finally, as a career, say I don't want to build a game studio, but I want to be a part of a game studio. Just make sure you develop a proper portfolio, because at the end of the day, we won't even check for the experience or how many years of work. It's going to be the portfolio. Like, what are the different things you tried, or what are the different things you tried and it didn't work out. I think those are some of the key things if you're going to do, or if you're going to choose gaming as a career. Just make sure you take any one of the, I would say like two different things. One is going to be have a primary skill which focus more on your favorite one. Say, I love environment, or I love like designing, or I love modeling. Just take one of that as a primary, and secondary, learn the entire stack. Because on the gaming industry side, people always go with very specifics, like say, I just do 3D modeling, I just do texturing artist, but they don't have a bigger picture of where the texture is going to sit inside the game. So just make sure you understand the programming side at least at the high level, but take one particular, say like one particular field and become expert in that. So these combination are a deadly combination, right? Like we find it really hard to find these kind of people, because we always find someone who is very much expertise in particular field, but they spend like 10 years on that, but they don't have the bigger picture of how the Unreal works, how the Unity works, or how they will be integrating it, what are the different optimization which you can do, like those kind of things. Just make sure you do that. And finally, there are a lot of initiatives which government provides. So these are some of the ones which government does it. But there are a few other things as well. Say if you have like a game, just make sure you create a vertical slice of the game. So technically, say if you have a game of 3 hours, you just do like a gameplay for 15 minutes. Make sure it's a final quality. And there are like number of initiatives. The government does it just on the funding part. There are a lot of grants as well. But you can talk to people like Xbox or Sony as well. There are a lot of things that opens up now. Because one thing which they see is like next 10 years, India is going to be a huge market. Like Microsoft is investing in India and Sony is investing in India. They want to take these games to their platform. So this vertical slice is going to be the defining one to which platform you're going. But not just on the government initiative, because the reach which you get, if you are branded as a PlayStation 5 game or like a Microsoft is backing you, it's going to be huge. Because one of the huge thing which difficult one is taking our game to the global audience. But if you have some of their backings, it's going to be an easy way where they can just showcase it in their developer direct or any huge events. So just make sure there are other things as well. Like one such initiative from Sony is called India Hero Project, where you can apply for the Sony funds the game and they ship it. So those are some of the things you need to like watch for. And one thing which I would say is like join a community. I think that is really useful. Like say if you're like every year there is something called India Game Developer Conference. You might have a local community as well. And one such studio in Kerala is called Norian Studio. He's my friend as well. They are working on a dinosaur game. So something like talk with more people, like find those kind of people and do networking with them, because that comes a long way. And you get to know a lot of these things whenever you're going to a community meetup or you're going to a conference, or even last week we did a global game jam. It's a worldwide event. It's like a hackathon where 3 days people come into a particular place and create a game. So community is one of the key thing and definitely watch out for all the government initiatives as well. And there are accelerators too. So some of the things which we initially worked with someone called STPI. And STPI and Telangana government have a accelerator. What they do is like they take the studio at the initial stage and they invest and they push you to all the events and all the government initiatives as well. And they also give a space for working in Telangana, in Hyderabad, where you can run the studio too. So there are, similar to that, you have Crafton, one of the biggest player in the market. And there are other initiatives from Annapurna as well, where you can play the game and you can, it's not just about the funding, it's about what are the different contexts which you get. Because when you are just backed up by some of the biggest, the government or like backed up by like the Crafton, it's easier for you to, it's easier for them to take this game to showcase it to a lot of different events. Like, because one thing which we do is we try to go to GDCs, one of the flagship event for gaming, which happens in San Francisco, and similarly Tokyo Game Show, and you have something in Brazil, the Gamescom, Europe, and Brazil as well. So just make sure you follow some of the news on the incubators as well. Because these accelerators are really helpful at the initial stage. They can guide and set up all the compliances, all the other thing which you might need other than developing game, they can come in and help as well. And on the funding part, pretty much one thing which I need to say is like gaming is like an upcoming market. Like we don't have like these are some of the biggest ones, but we don't have any proper like a lot of different options similar to like any SaaS or any fintech kind of model. But still, there are different investors that opened up. Like something like Lumika is primarily focused on gaming, the Crafton and Nazara. But one thing is they're more into mobile focused, so you can. Definitely, they are open year round. Like Crafton does, like yearly once they do a incubation program where you need to apply your pitch your idea and get it funded. But Lumikai, you can just go to their website. You can just apply if you have an idea with a set of concepts. You can do it. And one thing which needs to happen in Indian gaming industry is like we need like a title defining title for India that opens up all the different studios into the place as well. So we know we are a huge, we have like a lot of game studios on the mobile market. Definitely we need more on the PC and the console side of things. And pretty sure like in coming next 2 to 3 years it's going to happen. We are going to open up with a lot of different titles, but and definitely this list will grow as well. And one thing, just to make sure before going into it, I would recommend like start with like an angel investor maybe. Don't directly go to VCs first. And the angels are the easier one, I would say, on the development side as well, because you get a lot of different pressure when you're going to VCs. Just make sure you have the title, you have the traction, you have the numbers before going into VCs. And definitely, once you go to VC, it's really easy on the connections because they can take it to any number of events or they can take it to a different community and they can sell the game too. And definitely watch out for a lot of different the publishers. Because how gaming works is you develop a game, you find a publisher, you give the game to them, they place it to a different market. And say if you're doing a mobile game, you have like altogether a different type of deal and different type of publishers. And if you're doing a PC console, it's entirely different as well. Say how you can do a project-based funding, whether you want to do a minimum guarantee. There are a lot of different things that happens on the publishing space on the PC side. So even before angels and VCs, you can target the publishers first. And one easier way to access them is like you can plan for an event, connect with them. IGD has IP Connect where you can meet the publishers. They come from around the world and you can pitch the game. Similarly, you can directly go to the website. You can pitch the game on their on the publisher website. And before that, have a proper build even before going into the game publishing or VCs, because your game build is going to be the USP, because they want to try the game, they want to play the game before going into any investments or taking the game and publishing it to a different market. So this is on just to give a very high level summary on how the entire gaming initiatives work, the different options which you can do. And definitely I'll invite Rajesh to talk about how you're going to take it to the market, because we can build games, but taking to market is going to be the huge thing, because that's where people lag. And you too, Rajesh.
Hello. Yeah, I'll try to keep it a little short so that I keep your energy high. Uh, Thank you, Abraham, for that such a detailed walkthrough. So, so I'm looking at a lot of games. I've been marketing games. So my approach mostly towards to the marketing of any product. Specifically, talking about gaming. So when you plan to launch a game, just few couple of things I would like to share with you, so that you keep this in your mind while whenever you plan whether small or big game. So make sure you have an idea which is need not to be out of the box, but even if you try to copy something, it has to bring out something of its own, and it should offer something unique to the audience than what it is out there. Like and do your proper research on the game on the idea which you want to work. So don't get lost with the idea itself, because from ideation to execution, it's a whole difference altogether. Um, One of the important stages in whenever you plan to launch a game, the second stage is like prototyping it. Make sure you have a minimum viable product where a couple of levels have been designed, and you can get a it gives a proper glimpse of the game altogether in a very short period of a short session, I would say. So that with this you will understand what users actually looking at your game. This is must. I'll always recommend that. Key ideas are good, but once you develop a bit of it, then you would know the actual challenges, and then this will also boost your confidence. Uh, the other things which team building and all, I wouldn't want to talk about it much, because it's make sure you have a vibe which matches with your tribe, so that's when people get to do wonder in creative space. Funding and business model is something very important. This is an aspect where you have to really work on it. To make sure now you have an idea, you've developed it, then that's where the funding piece comes in. And Abraham, I've covered that. What are the sources you have? You go from angel investors to you can go for VCs and all. Now comes my key area, which is marketing and user acquisition. The word user acquisition is more familiar with app ecosystem. So I'll talk about a bit in the next slide. And then the lastly is you have an idea, you're building on it. Now you got funding. Then you have to look at the scalability, where like what the reach you want to have in terms of, and what kind of business it has to do. And lastly, don't forget about feedback. Your customer feedback is which drives it. We'll talk about it a little more. Um, this is a little crowded slide, a terminology which is really relevant to marketing. I would just keep the basics out here. So there are two kind of users. One is free and the other user is paid. So that same terminology, organic refers to free user and inorganic refers to paid user. Now these are the channels which all the gaming ecosystem tries to capture. It would be little different for when it comes to not little different. It more or like same for console and PC as well. But the mobile, India being a mobile first nation and mobile users being so widely available, because of quite big market size, these are very popular channels in for mobile gaming. So mobile marketing, I would say. Uh, so in the interest of time, I wouldn't get into more. I will just give you a small, like how detail I can get into each of these uh, aspects here. Like let's say I have written ASO. Just I'll talk about that. So it's called App Store optimization. So whenever you submit your game to a Play Store or an App Store, it has to be optimized. Now there is a set of best practices and all. And why it is needed, I'll just tell you. Because on Apple, around 1.8 lakh games are there. Okay. Imagine 1,80,000 games, you have to compete, your game has to get some visibility. So the initial visibility comes through the best practices which you implement in ASO. The same way goes for Google. I think the mobile games are more on App Store, no, on Google, yes. Google has more mobile games than App Store. It has around 2.6 lakh games. So quite a competitive space in terms of, so imagine there are many games which go unnoticed. So
there might be very good games, but they go unnoticed. And I've seen many indie studios struggling with that. So there's a lot to be done. But yeah, and all those are paid channels. One big good advice, like Abraham was telling, build your community from the beginning. The moment you have an idea, find people who also believe, who are connected to that idea. Well, like they know something about it. So from there, the community begins, and slowly, once you build a game, you share with them, and they work on it, and like they can play and they understand, and then they will give you the actual feedback about it. Um, and there are also social media channels. So we use channels like Facebook, which is we refer today as Meta, Instagram. We use Google. There are multiple ad networks. I'm not sure ever if while playing a game you get to see a lot of ads. So below every ad there is a small button called I. If you ever get to press on that I, you will find the information like which ad network is running that ad. So so typically there would be Unity, Applevin, Liftoff, InMobi. So these are the very big ad networks out there. So you get to see. For Google also you'll see Google, and Meta also you'll see Meta. So we use those channels to acquire. Now, so this slide when I had this, I didn't get to know my co-presenter Abraham. But once I got to know that this slide ideally owned by him, but he discussed it in earlier. So he is one who started as an indie studio, which is of 30 people right now, people of 30 team. So I don't call it indie. Indie is typically 4 or 5 or it's a single digit studio, but still there are studios like which refer themselves and they work out. So these are few things where I like just a self-read you can understand it's like self-understandable. So indies are the best studios in India, I would say, who actually come up with the right ideas. They have the freedom. Later they get influenced by the stakeholders who invest in it. But till that point, they are the ones I believe would make the would differentiate the ecosystem. Just like how the small films do wonders compared to big films, the same logic is applied here. So I would say keep the indie live inside you. Start something small the moment you have an idea. Team up with 2, 3 people or 1 or 2, and just go it. Because for gaming you need a coder, and the coder is an artist, or you can buy an art from any of those coding platforms. So one man can make a game. So from there it starts. So quite an amazing thing, right? You just one person can make games. So that's where the indie begins. So keep doing that. So coming to the last part of the session, where I would say the best practices, which sometimes like even the big studios tend to don't follow this. Maybe because of the success or because of they got so much busy in it, and they don't get to pay attention to the small things, the other bigger things which they get carried away. But since we are talking about and you all are students, so I would recommend focus on quality and engagement. For any game, engagement is core. In India, an average Indian spends close to 14 hours a week on mobile games. And for Ludo King, I'll tell you the number, it's 18 hours. So a user spends 18 hours on a game per week. It's crazy number I would say. And the session lengths are they're like Ludo sessions are almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And an average session in India where you start the game, you spend and then you exit, that is around 30 minutes. That's quite a big amount of time which each of us are giving to gaming. So make sure that engagement is very smooth and good. Next, I'm talking about feedback loops. That's where a lot of products go unnoticed. They ignore their customers. It's a universal policy. It's a universal not policy. It's a truth which everyone has to follow. So keep the feedback in loop and make sure you listen to your communities, because games have different genres and genres have different fans and they have their own voice to it. So you have to listen to them, and that would help you out. This is a very big topic, legal and ethical compliance, if I go on talking about it. But with real money and fantasy, there is a lot of competition out there. It is completely overshadowing the real skill-based game or free-to-play game, which we say. So the country needs people like you guys who come up with innovative ideas and make free-to-play so big, because there's $1 billion ecosystem it is. and this, in India, like the majority, like right now, like a lot of money comes in real money, and people often talk about it, but free to play is much bigger than that. If you go to US market, it's a $1 billion company. Like I'm not sure how many of you heard of a game called Coin Masters, which made $6 billion in gross revenue. So that's a pretty big number, you know. Recently, last year, Monopoly did so well that in a quarter it made to a $1 billion. So that's a huge market. Okay, so when you compare to that in real money, it's nothing. So it's if you plan to build something in fantasy and real space, I would say make sure it's completely legal and ethical compliance. Localization and innovation, no, can't. That's again a big topic which limits. Build something out of your local culture and influence, and it's I would never say this in a place like Kerala, which is core to its roots, and the cultural influence can be experienced everywhere. And so you guys actually are the example for that to the world, to the world or to India. So keep building something out from native ideas. And lastly, this is an ever-going aspect of it. You have to stay updated with technology. The landscape is changing drastically. Every day, new technology is coming in. So you have to be adapted to it and make best use of it. Yeah, cool. Abraham, we're done.
Thank you so much for an amazing session. Your insights into game development, marketing innovation, and storytelling have truly inspired us to rethink the possibilities in this ever evolving industry. Please give a big round of applause. As a token of appreciation, I would now like to invite Shri Kutu Shaji, Faculty Jain University, to hand over the memento to our esteemed speakers. Shri Ramesh Naidu. Next, Shri Abraham K. Can we have a group picture also? Sir, you also please join.